Justice Seriake today has been sworn in as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria. He's taking over from Justice Kayode Ariwola. He was sworn in by President Bola Tinubu at the presidential view. And Supreme Court today affirms the elections of Hope Uzodinma in Imo State, Usman Ododo in Kogi, and Oyediri in Bayelsa State in some of the off-cycle governorship elections last year. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Seun Okinbaloye in Abuja. It's a rainy day here in the nation's capital, and a lot of things are happening. From the change of button from the last CJN to an acting new CJN, Justice Seriake Dickson, to what has happened at the Supreme Court today. Hopes dashed for some, hopes are rising for others. In 3 different states of the Federation, there have been elections that have been affirmed. So we do know the outcome of those elections now, and those can now be at the driver's seat firmly. Tonight, I have a special guest, and he will be talking to us about our nation, the state that we are, how we can wriggle away from all of the constitutional calamity, and of course, get ourselves back as a people in holding on to our destiny and giving ourselves the kind of hope that we really deserve. Well, let me give you an understanding of what happened at the courtroom today. It was hope rising for 3 governors whose election now been affirmed, from Hope Uzodinma in Imo State, his counterpart in Bayelsa, Senator Oyediri, and of course, Usman Ododo of the APC in Kogi State. Last year, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, declared the 3 of them as the winners of the off-cycle governorship polls, which held on the 11th of November 2023 in their respective state. For Uzodinma, INEC said he polled 540,308 votes to defeat Samuel Anyanwu of the PDP, who polled 7,503 votes. And of course, Nathan Achonu of the Labour Party, who secured 64,081. But of course, for those who were defeated in that election, went to court to challenge Uzodinma's election. The same thing we saw in Bayelsa State, where the APC candidate and a former Minister of State for Petroleum, Resuscitating Presiva, was unsatisfied and went to court to challenge the election of Senator Oyediri. In Kogi State, similar incident happened where we saw the SDP candidate, Muritala Ajaka, going to court to challenge the victory of Usman Ododo of the APC. But today, from what we saw in the courtroom and the kind of chaos that happened outside of the courtroom, it was a mixed bag of feelings. Call it a free-for-all, at a desecration of some sort for those who know less about how a courtroom cannot be desecrated, going this far to have these political brickbat right on the doorstep of what we all revere as a hallowed chamber of the very apex court in the land, the Supreme Court. This was an aftermath of the judgment of today. Sad scenario there. So much to talk to you about tonight, so much information to give out. So stick around with me. Let me serve you with some of your political roundup stories, and I'll be back to give you some updates. I'll let you know that President Tinubu is back in the country. Is it because of Justice Kekere swearing in? Of course, we saw that happening today. But then, he's back from Paris. Justice Kekere is now the chairman of the Nigerian judiciary. We'll be giving you updates on that. Then I'll introduce my special guest on the program tonight. See you.
President Bola Tinubu has charged the Nigerian armed forces to remain vigilant and proactive in addressing regional security threats. The president said this through his vice president, Kashim Shettima, who represented him at the graduation ceremony of Course 32 of the National Defense College, Abuja. The president emphasizes the importance of strategic leadership in addressing the complex security and development challenges confronting Nigeria.
Our dear country faces many socio-economic challenges. As a government, we are sensitive to our people's yearnings. We will continue proactively intervening in matters that benefit our citizens.
The chairman of the PDP Governors Forum and Governor of Bauchi State, Mr. Bala Mohammed, says the PDP governors remain resolute to stand with the sufferings of Nigerian masses and are taking steps to ameliorate their plight. Governor Mohammed stated these while reading a communique at the end of a Governors Forum meeting which was held in Jalingo, the Taraba State capital. According to Governor Mohammed, the recent nationwide hunger protests are the inalienable rights of the citizens to vent their grievances.
We call on the Federal Minister of Finance and the Accountant General of the Federation to be more transparent in obeying the law, particularly Section 162(1), 2 and 3.
The national leadership of the New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, says the candidate for the party in the November 16, 2024 governorship election, Mr. Olugbenga Edema, is not a member of the party and hence cannot run for election on his party's platform. At a news conference in Akure, the state capital, the acting national secretary, Mr. Sunday Ogini, notes that Mr. Edema was an interloper brought in by a faction led by the party's candidate in the 2023 presidential election, Alhaji Rabiu Kwankwaso, who has since been expelled from the party. Some Northern citizens under the aegis of Rebuild Arewa Initiative for Development and Northern Consensus Movement are calling on the federal government to evolve a new strategy in tackling insecurity and securing lives and properties of the citizenry. At a news conference in Abuja, the president of the group, Mr. Balarabi Rufia, expressed worry over the insecurities and the incessant kidnapping and killings of innocent people, while condemning the gruesome murder of the Emir of Gobi in Sokoto State, Alhaji Isa Mohammed, who was kidnapped and killed by some criminal elements. The group called on Northern governors to convene an urgent national Northern security colloquium to discuss strategies of finding a lasting solution to the security challenges in northern part of the country. The chairman of the House Committee on Reformatory Institutions, Honorable Chinedu Oga, has commended the Ebonyi State government for implementing the Reforms Act. Oga, who led the members of the committee to Ebonyi State on oversight function, were received by the Speaker of the House in the State House Assembly, Mr. Moses Odunwa, at the Old Government House in Abakaliki, the Ebonyi State capital. Honorable Oga commended the state government for building correctional facility that could house 1,212 inmates, which will help to decongest other correctional centers in the state.
There you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories. Let me now take you to the very hallowed chamber of the presidential villa in Abuja today, where President Bola Tinubu has sworn in Justice Kudirat Kekereekun as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, pending the approval of the Nigerian Senate. A swearing in followed President Bola Tinubu's return to Abuja earlier today after a trip to France on a brief work visit. The president, who arrived at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in the early hours of today, left for France on Monday. Well, the president now has to the obligation and the duty of swearing in the new Chief Justice of Nigeria, Kudirat Kekereekun, earlier today at the council chambers in the State House. Let me allow you to listen to a portion of the swearing in of the new CJN, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun.
We expect the Apex Court to continue to play a critical role in the evolution of our constitutional democracy and shape public policies that impact all segments of Nigerian society. I want to assure you that my administration will continue to provide appropriate support to improve the welfare and capacity of the judiciary, continue to ease the administration of justice, and promote the rule of law in Nigeria. This consideration informed the expedited passage of the National Assembly and my consent to the Judicial Office Order Act of 2024.
We will take the judiciary to higher heights. The reputation that it has, we will improve it. We'll make sure that people have more confidence in the judiciary. And I believe that it's not a one-man job. We all have to be on board. And because we all see where the areas are that need improvement, I believe that there will be cooperation, because we all want to see a better judiciary. A better judiciary is for the benefit of the entire nation.
My Lord Justice Kudirat Kekerekun sworn in today as the acting CJN pending the approval of the Nigerian Senate. Of course, earlier you heard President Bola Tinubu. Let me just put you in the loop of what is happening in Edo State and the controversy around the deputy governorship seat. So it is emerged today, a court document which was seen signed today, dated today by the registrar of the Federal High Court in the Abuja Judicial Division, between Honorable Philip Shaibu, the IG, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, the AG of Edo, Chief Judge of Edo, the Honorable Speaker of the Edo State House of Assembly, and the Edo State House of Assembly, and a notice of consequences of disobedience order of court. And the court is warning against possible contempt of the earlier ruling, which the court has said that the parties involved need to be warned unless they will now be in flagrance of the order of court in the directions contained in the endorsed order of the court in the 17th day of July ruling, which now the parties might be guilty of contempt of court and will be liable to be committed to prison if not obeyed. That particular judgment of the 17th of July appears to have been in favor of the former deputy governor that have been reinstated by the court, Comrade Philip Shaibu. Now, tonight, a whole lot of things have happened in our country, perhaps in the aftermath of the August nationwide protest. There are a lot of thinking as to the best ways to handle governors, the best way we can move forward. There's been several conferences on our constitution. There are those who believe that have been bequeathed with a constitution that is fraught by irregularities and a lot of gaps. There are those who believe that it has to be, in a revolutionary manner, changed because they see the handwriting and the imprint of military. Well, there are those who believe that you cannot just change it like that. You have to go through the gamut of constitutional change and amendment. But what is the best ways anyway? Are the laws our problems, or what exactly is the way forward? Tonight, I'm being joined by a former governor, two-time governor of Bayelsa State, and a sitting senator, federal lawmaker, represented by Bayelsa West in the National Assembly, Senator Seriake Dickson. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Seun, for having me, and good to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What an interesting day. Your successor, Senator Diri, election has been affirmed by the Supreme Court. How does that make you feel?
Well, we are all, it's a great day for, not just for Bayelsa alone, but for all the two other states. And I would like to congratulate all of them, and in particular, the governor of the great state of Bayelsa. I have an experience managing and going through these kinds of post-election litigation. In my own case, also went to the Supreme Court almost 3-4 times. So I understand how the effect it can have in distracting the focus of a governor. So now that all of this has been put, out, has been concluded now, we expect that the governors, all the three of them, will now have an opportunity to focus on the assignments that they have. So I congratulate all of them, and in particular the governor of Bayelsa State and the party, our party, back home, and call on those who appear to have lost to put everything aside and then reorganize and prepare for another time. That's the essence of political, democratic contest. It's democratic to challenge the outcome of an election. It's an exercise of their own fundamental right, and they have taken it to the highest level. And now the highest court in the land has decided. Sometimes it may not be pleasant. I mean, it's not a pleasant thing to lose, to be pronounced a loser. I mean, but our plea and reasonable thing to do in circumstances like this is for them to support the winners, or at least stay on their lane, reorganize for tomorrow. Because the process requires that it has to be so.
All right. I mean, when people say, what is in a name, ask a Bayelsan or a politician in Bayelsa, they will tell you the importance of having your name properly written, properly documented. I'm very sure that you know what I mean by that. But the big question here, before I get into the constitutional matter, one of the reasons why I invited you is the fact that as a senator and a two-term governor, if there is supposed to be some electoral reforms in respect of how fast the adjudication on electoral process should be, what would you say? Because there are those who are debated that all electoral matters in the court should be concluded before swearing in. Do you agree, sir?
Well, even before you talk about electoral litigation, we are actually glorifying a very terrible electoral situation we ourselves have created. And I've said several times that the political class in this country appears to be unwittingly committing class suicide because we are not collectively subscribing to free and fair elections, supporting the rule of law, supporting the independence of the judiciary, the independence of the media, and so on and so forth. All these things, and then abuse of power, run away from abuse of power in all these dimensions. The political class is not doing that. So, before you even talk of the channels of litigation, I think we should think of how to sanitize the electoral process in such a way that after every contest, a loser must emerge, a winner will emerge. The loser should be able to have confidence in the electoral process to say, I concede. Even before the outcome is they call. That's what happens in other jurisdictions. It is because they have confidence in the free and fair conduct of the elections, in the behavior, the fair conduct and behavior of all state actors. That is not happening. That is why we are, in my view, inundating the judiciary. The judiciary and the Supreme Court, as it has happened today, has no business ordinarily. Shouldn't really have a business. Shouldn't be encouraged in every election cycle to be the final arbiter as to who has won or lost an election. That is an indictment on our electoral system. It's a direct indictment on the electoral body. It's an indictment on the security agencies and on the political system that we operate. So, while it is legitimate to say, okay, how do we conduct these litigations? Where should it start? Where should it end? And should it be after litigations that people should be sworn in? That's a valid argument. But you see, the best thing to do in the national interest is to focus on sanitizing the electoral system itself, such that we work towards a situation where after every election, any election, the loser should have confidence in the process.
How do we
that
sanitize
he or she has lost fairly?
Senator, how do we sanitize it? I mean, you've stood for election. You are back home now because you were a former, you were in the House of Reps before you became governor. Now you're back in the National Assembly. So it's politics is something that you know too well. You've run for several elections. So you know exactly where the loopholes are, where the gaps are, how politicians rig election, how politicians use INEC security to rig election. If there is one way to sanitize the electoral process, where should we be looking at?
It has to, first of all, the law is important, the electoral law, and we have started. I'm in the electoral amendment committee, and we are undertaking a comprehensive review once again of the electoral law to underpin the conduct of free and fair elections, to reduce litigations and contests and challenges and disaffection, as we saw now, even in the Supreme Court venue, people not accepting the verdict of the Supreme Court.
Sadly.
So it's very sad. The way politicians conduct ourselves, the way the electoral body mishandles matters during elections, aids and abets, abuse of the electoral system and the conduct of security agencies, you give rise to a situation where so much burden is placed, unfortunately, at the doorstep of the Supreme Court, the judiciary.
Why the desperation?
Now look at what is happening
desperation for
in the premises of
Why do you think that there's so much desperation for power? Because people kill people, maim people, there's a lot of violence. So you wonder what exactly is this agitation or desperation to go out, if it's for service?
I don't think politics is a game for people who have aspirations and who are fired by ambition. And like I preached all through my political career and even now, all politicians must accept that every political ambition or aspiration is legitimate. Okay? It's legitimate. And everyone should have a fair chance. We don't have enough time, Seun, in this program, or in a 1 hour or less than 1 hour program, to go into the causes of why, what we need to do in terms of bringing about sanitizing the electoral system. We don't have the time for that. But you need to address how political parties conduct their affairs. The conduct of political parties, the conduct of primary elections, how they select their candidates. We have lost completely the idea of having political parties that will serve primarily as a vehicle for leadership identification, recruitment, and training. Look at the Democratic National Convention that ended just earlier hours of this morning. You saw how they rallied the nation, rallied their party. Political parties are vehicles for national cohesion and nation building. They are so important and should not be left, without to be allowed to do whatever they want to do. Selecting candidates anyhow, leaving popular candidates and bringing unpopular candidates, imposing their views, and all of those things have to be addressed. Parties must be looked into, how they do their business. One, and then INEC, the big elephant in the room, because the buck must begin and end in the office of the INEC. Now, what we need to work towards in this country, in a nutshell, like I said, we don't have much time, and we're trying to build consensus in the National Assembly. I don't know whether we'll succeed, but we are making some progress, is how we can have electronic voting, where you reduce human interference that gives rise to manipulation, inducement, and intimidation, and all of that. And fortunately, there's technology. And in 2015, a sitting president, President Jonathan, in the national interests and in our party, had the love of the country and our democratic survival enough to say, use beavers, card reader. That was a major leap. We've got to build on it. In the last 8 years, in the party in government, they haven't really shown that desire to see that we sanitize the electoral process, one, and most importantly now, at the level of national leadership, to put their personal interests and interests of their party above, the interest of the country, by actively promoting and supporting the application of technology. And if that happens, before 2027, we should have a situation where they should have deployed technology, and the technology is available. Other countries are doing it, where people can vote, and the result is released at every polling unit. They know it, and it is electronically verifiable with minimum human interference. Once we get to that point, and the security agencies who are to provide security also behave well and have the resources and the right orientation, then we'll gradually move to a situation where after every election, somebody who has contested and lost should be able to stand on the podium with the person that has won and say, congratulations, my dear friend. That's the ideal we should
just like Julius Jonathan did.
And I expect that under this president and the current administration, this president has been in the trenches of the political, electoral, democratic system for long. There's any one president who should advance democracy in all its ramifications, leading us closer to the perfect scenario we're talking about, should be President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Let me take
and if he does so, we'll be there to work with him and support him.
That's cheery. I mean, to know that across political party, you are able to wanting to help for the interest of the nation. But let me take you to a very fundamental issue, and which is our constitution. The Patriots, they visited the president, led by Chief Emeka Anyaoku. And at that visit, they made it very clear. They needed, and they're asking that the president should convene a meeting of ethnic and some major interests across the country to sit down and look at our structure with the hope of defining a new constitution. And those who will be asking the question, is that our problem? Do you think?
Well, first of all, let me commend elder statesman and one of the fathers of our country now, Emeka Anyaoku, for the leadership he's giving to the Patriots and all the members, indeed, of the Patriots body. And let me also, by extension, commend the sacrifices of those who have gone before. I mean, Chief Williams, who was the pioneer chairman of Patriots, and then Professor Wambueze, and all the others who, over time, have been part of the bandwagon of asking that we re-examine the foundations of our country once again. And they are not alone. The Patriots are not alone in doing that. Ethnic nationalities, the Johannese, the Pandev, the Afenifere. And actually, even my party, 1998, 1999, the Alliance for Democracy, as well as the NADECO and all of those organizations, were quick in, and have been very consistent, actually, in identifying the irregularity of the structure of Nigeria. And the impractical nature of that structure, and the fact that that structure is a major impediment to our development, to our security, and our stability. They have raised these issues once again. So I commend them for and I agree with them. On the call that they made to the president, for the president to lend support. There's something the Americans call it the bully pulpit, and that is the capacity of the president to use the influence and authority of his office, to rally support and galvanize opinion and mobilize support for a worthy national cause. And that's the right thing they have done. The president has to do it. I know that the president, some may say, well, as you rightly said, is that the problem of this country? Yes. It is.
Really?
A new constitution, a constitutional review or reform is at the root of most of the challenges you have. You may not see it directly, but it's a national imperative. It is the kind of constitution that we have that has reduced our capacity to be productive. It is the constitution, nature of the constitution, that has given rise to the ineffective grassroots administrative system, the local government system that we have. It is the constitution. It is the constitution that has now created a situation where you have an overloaded center. In the 9th Senate, which I was part of, and I was also a member of the Constitutional Review Committee, as I am now in the 10th Senate, we tried to devolve a lot of these powers in the 9th Senate. We took airports back to states, took prisons back to states, and a number of such things back to the states. We need to do more. We need to do more. And why the patriots are making that call, and that's a call I had actually also, and others have made severally. Even I took that issue before the former president, President Buhari, and made a case similar to what the patriots are calling on President Tinubu to do. When I was talking about the issue of constitutional reforms, otherwise known as restructuring, because the call for restructuring is simply a call to review and re-examine the constitutional foundations of our country. That's all. Okay? And I asked the former president, I requested the former president, pleaded with the former president, please let this be your legacy, if anything at all. Use the powers of your office to create a national dialogue. Fortunately, a lot of work has been done over the years. Several constitutional conferences, several position papers, several committee reports over the years. So you're not going to reinvent the wheel. You identify key players, as the patrons have rightly pointed out. Okay, ethnic nationality bodies, yes. But even within the formal systems of our government, the governors, for example, because for you to promulgate a new constitution or make an amendment to the existing constitution, you must have the ratification and buy-in of 2/3 of the state assemblies, which are in the states, under the influence of the governors. So there has to be a mechanism by which the governors can be arranged. And no one can do it better than the president. No one can engage the leadership of political parties.
Just for a moment, let's take a pause. But what the patriots and yourself, what you are affirming tonight, is what I refer to a revolutionary constitutional change. It is revolutionary in the sense that they want a draft people's constitution. And there are those who will say, legally speaking, how do you then remove an existing structure in the country? There are those who will say, let there be a plebiscite. How would that happen when you have a sitting National Assembly? Does this National Assembly, which you are a member of, has the political will and the guts to make that happen? But we'll take a break. And I'd like you to answer all of those critical questions after now, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us tonight. We've been speaking with a former governor of Bayelsa State and a sitting senator, Senator Seriake Dickson. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. You have argued that we do need a new constitution that reflects the true state of our people or the peoples of Nigeria. But the big question of those who have argued that we are living a lie as a people, that constitution does not reflect the yearnings of the Nigerian people. It doesn't reflect the kind of shape and the structure that Nigeria needs to have. But do you agree that we live a lie currently as a people?
Well, yes, of course. If you look at the preamble of the 1999 Constitution, which says, we the people, and you know that for those who were available at that time, you know that the peoples of Nigeria never played a major role in the making of what has turned out to be the 1999 Constitution. As a matter of fact, a number of people may have forgotten the fact that no political player, no one except the inner circle of the military at the time, had access to the draft of what was to be our Constitution. It took effect from October 1st or May 29th. May 29th, when the federal administration, President Obasanjo and the governors took over. I'm not sure they themselves knew the extent of their powers and what the provisions under that document were going to be. That was the way this constitution
there are those who will say
came to
that
be.
Because the military government at the time is not a democratically put together structure of governance. There are those who say they are Nigerians, eggheads, professors. There are critical thinkers who came together to put it together. But in any case, there are those they aren't non-Nigerians. All of them are Nigerians. And saying that it is not a people's constitution, that those who argue that you always have representation of the Nigerian people, but yet there are Nigerians who put the constitution together.
Even if you are making an ordinary law, in the ordinary process of lawmaking, you have what we call the public hearing. that is an avenue given to the people to make input, to get their buy-in, to even, if you like, explain to them, even if you are not going to take what they say. I know, Seun, that the people that I represent, for example, the peoples of the Niger Delta, were not consulted when in this constitution and in other laws, they took away ownership of the ancestral properties and vested it in the state. Do you understand, for example? So that's just one.
So your people are being cheated by this constitution?
No, of course, everybody knows. Everybody, not this constitution. Since 1966, when the military came, and the true derivation of overboard, and then the subsequent military decrees, Petroleum Act, Land Use Act, and all those ones were shunned out, taking away the right of the people to their land. In a capitalist system, that is the contradiction, the economic contradiction foisted by the country. But that's just one matter.
But so the Ijaw people,
not just the Niger Delta.
I mean, you represent the Niger.
It affects all mineral producing communities. It also applies to the solid mineral producing communities.
So it's a document that is unjust to the average Nigerian people.
So what
do you think that? Do you think that this constitution satisfy a few people in this in this country of ours?
No. What happened was that they imported the colonial mineral ordinance. I know colonialism is about conquest, it's about exploitation, economic exploitation. And so in the military, in those days, in the 60s, 68, about that, that was when they shunned out all those decrees, taking away the right of the people, limiting their right to land use. Do you understand? There was no referendum, there was no consultation. But that's an aside. But there are other elements we're talking about. You talked about why should we have a sovereign parliament. Yes, I agree, and I'm part of it. We have been having constitutional amendments committees, and quite some amendments have been made, okay? But these amendments are not as important as they are not amendments touching the key structural, foundational distortions of the country. Seun, for example, the amendments have not affected the issue of what form of government is best suited to this country. I thought presidential, American presidentialism, or were the military right in taking us away from America, from British parliamentary system, and foisting the American presidential system that's very distant
but the Constitution stated clearly that presidential federalism.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah. The decision. What consultation went into it?
So we need to rethink that.
Oh, yes. I mean, even if the people willingly did that, after 25 years of practicing this from 1998, 1999 till now, if we have a right to say, let us, gentlemen, sit down and examine how this document has served our purpose. And much more so when the people were not consulted. The peoples of Nigeria were not consulted when they moved us away from the British parliamentary system, which is best suited to our multi-ethnic, multicultural society like us. Can you imagine the whole of India coming out to elect one president one day? So you keep having these divisions and chaos and mistrust and all of that.
So if we do not have a new constitution, we cannot move forward. Is that what you are saying tonight?
What I'm saying is that a fundamental, comprehensive constitutional review and reform is a national imperative. And it's not my view as to what the constitution should be. What we are saying is that we should have a national dialogue. And all persons, all sections who have views should contribute to it. And the patriots are right in calling on the president to use the power and influence of his authority to get that going.
Let me ask you something.
And back to your question of the National Assembly.
Yeah, John, I'm going to ask you the fact that what the position of the patriots, because they are asking the president for the convening of a national constituent assembly with the mandate to produce a draft People's Democratic Constitution. That those who will say they are calling for a revolution. A revolution of the Constitution. And this is what I mean. Now, They are asking that the president should convene what looked like the 2014 confab or the 2005 constitutional conference by the Obasanjo regime. And there are those who will say, look, when all of those happen, there is a lacuna. How do you then birth a new constitution when you have an existing constitution? Don't forget that that same constitution, 1999, as amended, has stated that every officer sworn in under that law will uphold to that constitution. Are you going to have allegiance, or won't you be breaching the oath of office where the president swore to uphold the 1999 constitution and now hoping that he's going to birth a new constitution? Isn't that a contradiction in itself?
It's not a contradiction at all. Even the constitution, 1999 constitution, as faulty as it is, has in it provisions relating to amendment. Okay? All the patriots are asking, and all what those of us who feel that we should discuss the larger structural issues of our country feel, is that the president should lend the power and influence and authority of his office to convene and look at even existing recommendations. Take, for example, the 2014 confab report. It is there. It has not been implemented. You can get more input to it. Work with the governor, set up a small committee. They will review all these existing provisions, including what was done 1995, down to where we are. And then pick out the areas where there's consensus. Seun, the Constitution, 1999 Constitution, I know we have operated it for some time. And so for some people, they look at it as a fait accompli. They look at it as sacrosanct. Yes, in some sense, we are managing, we are working with it, but it is open to amendment. The Constitution itself has prescribed a mode for its own amendment, and so calls for amendment or reform are very well within the provisions of the Constitution.
But what the patriots are asking for is not reforms or amendment.
Yes.
They want a brand new constitution. They want that constituent unit and the Constituent Assembly to produce a new draft, which will be tagged the People's Democratic Constitution.
No, listen.
That's a totally different.
No. You are misrepresenting what they are saying. Anything from the patriots or anybody, or even from me or from you, is a proposal for constitutional amendment.
Not a constitutional change.
An amendment is a change.
You have argued that this constitution is not well thought out.
Yes.
You have said tonight that this constitution does not represent the intent, the constitution, the constitution of our people, the yearnings of our people. So it should not stand. That means that it doesn't have a place to represent us. So the patriot are asking, put up a constituent assembly. Let them put up a draft. They're very categorical. Put up a draft of a People's Democratic Constitution.
No, listen to me. I am not part of the patriots and what document they have presented. I have not also read all the portions of that document. What I associate with is a call for constitutional reform. And the document or whatever it is that the patriots have submitted should be treated as one of such documents. I can have my own views. The patriots have their own views. It's not cast in stone. Any other body can come with a proposal. Governors, states, ethnic bodies can submit proposals. That is not cast in iron. It's not. And it is not outside the Constitution of the Federal Republic. That is all well within. And Seun, you need to understand that. So that people don't mischaracterize what the patriots and others are saying as something that is extra constitutional. No. It is within the provisions of the Constitution to call for an amendment. You can't, if you have people meet and agree on what should be the provisions of a new constitution or some parts of the constitution, what is expected that they will do is that that document or that proposal will be sent to the National Assembly for legislation.
Even if such
enactment.
Even such a proposal displaces the National Assembly. There are those who believe that we should revert to a parliamentary system.
Oh, yeah.
There are those who say we need a unicameral legislature.
Yes.
Which then means that will the National Assembly now write off its own status in the polity?
Look, Seun.
For a new status quo.
Seun. If you are asking me, is that a walk in the park? Is that easy? That's a different thing. But if you say theoretically, is that possible? I would say yes, it is possible.
Because for this National Assembly to write itself off.
I will vote for it, for example.
But you might be a minority.
Listen, you never can tell. I believe in the parliamentary democracy that we were bequeathed with. Because as far as I'm concerned, historically, that was where we Nigerians agreed, that was the form of government we agreed. So with all the developments in the country, the insecurity, and like I said, the present system, the constitutional system, is not conducive to a productive society. Most people don't see the link. You think the constitution is just there, the National Assembly, presidency, and so on. No. It has to cascade down the line. Structures and systems have to be established and grounded on the Constitution. The Constitution is the ground norm. For example, you have to look at the judiciary. You just talked about the situation in the judiciary now. Do we not need a regional government, for example, now? In addition to the states, I will support the creation of regional governments.
What would that?
Not taking away. Wait a minute. Not displacing the states, not displacing the local governments. Regional governments, where you devolve a number of these critical functions to that level of government. Because whether you like it or not, we have become zonal. Maybe let me say zonal.
Or regional.
Or not regional, yes. Because now, from 1995 till date, this country has adopted, without it being even in the Constitution, zonal arrangements almost in everything. So you have zonal representations in the police, where you have a DIG from every zone of the police, for example. So, and then if you are saying geopolitical zones, even in political offices, you are doing so. Why haven't we come to the point where in this country we will now say, gentlemen, can't we now create a level of government where we can with powers and authorities at that regional end?
Vice president for these?
No. Vice president? No. I'm not talking of presidency. Don't mingle too many things so that you don't get confused, okay? And confuse others. If you have that regional body, it depends after consultation what powers should be given to it. Agriculture, policing, and so on and so forth. Subject to the federal police, for example, of course. Because people are saying, okay, they can't trust state governments, they can't trust local government police. So there is room for conversation, Seun. That's what I'm saying.
But how urgent do you think this should be done? Do you think the president has a political will to make it happen?
Whether he has the political will or not will be seen when all this comes. It depends on what he does with it. But don't tell me that the call by the patriots is misplaced. It is the right call. I am joining that call, as I've always done, that there is need for a constitutional review. What should be the contents of that review? Don't take what I say as something that should be cast in iron. No, we can debate it. There should be that national dialogue and conversation. But don't tell me that this 1999 Constitution is perfect. It's a perfect document and that we should not change it, we should not amend it, we should work with it till eternity.
I think it's a very popular conversation about the frailties of the Constitution.
Yes.
How we go about it has been the issue.
Yes.
And different leaders in this country have taken different approaches on how to solve it.
Yes.
The Obasanjo era, 2005, the Constitutional Conference came out with results but no action. 2014, Jonathan came with result, but what was not effected.
Yes.
The way forward is now what we are, and those who have the political will to make it happen.
Yes.
But if I may ask you, Senator Seriake,
can I answer one question you asked before?
Yeah.
As to there have been several efforts by the National Assembly of which I've been part of, and I'm a member also of the current Committee on Constitutional Reform. You see, some work has been done, but you see, it has always been picking and choosing. If it is electoral procedure, timetable, where the jurisdiction of courts and so on. All these matters and related matters. And like I said, the 9th National Assembly succeeded in devolving some of these powers because the federal list is too heavy. Nigeria is too top heavy, for God's sake. Nigeria is too top heavy, for God's sake. The federal government has to deal with only those things that are essentially federal. National security and defense, diplomacy, foreign affairs, currency and banking, immigration and customs. You know, things like that. All these other ancillary issues, we have creating agencies that should be the responsibility of states, creating agencies that should be the work of local government councils. So a lot of things that are in the federal list that should not be there. So when people talk of restructuring or true federalism or constitutional reform, that is an essential aspect of it. But beyond that, we're addressing it. But some of the issues that, if you want to address the issue of the form of government, that is a very fundamental issue because it is structural. If you are addressing the issue of what levels of government can we create, now we have the states, the local government, and then the federal. But now you and I see, you have a Northeast Development Commission. We have just established a Northwest Development Commission. You have established a Southwest Development Commission. We have established a Southeast Development Commission. So we are already thinking, maybe people don't want the word regionally, but we are already thinking zonally in this country.
Your Excellency,
so why can't we legislate it?
We need to wrap up, and
Yes.
you just have less than 60 seconds, I'm being told.
Okay.
There is a pressure on the political class, isn't
Yes,
it? And
yes.
we saw what happened in the August nationwide protest.
Yes.
And it does look that those who are even asking the salary that you and your colleagues earn, and they say, oh, maybe you are earning too much. Nigeria cannot afford to fund you and your colleagues in the National Assembly. And I'm wondering, it seems to be a spotlight on those who are in power more than ever before. And the reason why governance has to be taken seriously, don't you think? And if that is the case,
Yes.
Nigerians whose plight in hardship and poverty are now being critical of those who are governing them.
Yes.
Do you think that there needs to be a caution in those who are in the position of power?
First of all, the calls and the concerns are very much appreciated, and it's a legitimate feeling. Even the feeling of anger and frustration that we saw a few weeks back, it's legitimate. Okay? And which is one of the reasons you need a people's constitution. A constitution that will devolve power to the people as much as you can and leave the center to deal with the things that are essentially federal. Okay? And a constitution that will empower the citizens, create options and create avenues for their own economic enhancement, for them to hold those in office accountable. There are no such sufficient measures in the 1999 Constitution.
So we
Because
need to take
those in
drastic
power
action.
are too far removed from the people. Too far removed.
And the agitation.
And there are not enough checks. Not enough checks against abuse of power.
All right.
And for responsibility and accountability.
We need to go now.
So these are some of the things we need to look at when we're talking of constitutional reform.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Senator Seriake Dickson, representing the good people, they always say, of Bayelsa.
But very good people in the case.
Very good, yes, absolutely. I love the fishes there, and I wish I could swim better than I can right now. But thank you so much indeed, the former governor of Bayelsa State, Seriake Dickson. And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you on Sunday, 8 p.m. God bless Nigeria.